You got Birds 365, a Meeting Monday episode here with John McMullen and Jody McDonald. We got Marc Farzetta joining us. Good to see you, Farz.
Good to see you guys.
How's everything going with you these days?
Oh, fantastic, my friend. Fantastic. How about you guys?
I love it. I love the energy.
I ask Farz almost every time he comes on. And one day I'm just hoping he goes, yeah, life sucks, John. He never says it. He's always got
that's my on.
I'm waiting for that day, McMullen. Is ever going to get that from Farzy? You know,
no, you're never going to get that from Farzy.
My dog died yesterday, so don't ask me.
You're never going to get that. Here, you're going to get it. I'm going to get it. My dog's not doing well. I don't want to hear that.
Oh, sorry about that, Jay.
I know.
Sorry to hear that, brother. Sorry to. No, I am at my fullest when I have when I obviously sports and all that stuff and all that fun stuff. But I also, if I have like if I have like a woodworking project, because I enjoy the woodworking world and all that stuff, I'm building a floating shelf to go under my TV. So I'm very, that's like occupying most of my brain. That's not occupied by sports.
Shelf.
I'm out, Bob Vila.
Yeah.
What the hell's a floating shelf?
It's a trend.
I don't know what it is, but I'm impressed.
It's a trend. It just it's magnetic and it just floats. No, I'm kidding. It basically you mount it to the wall like you would a TV, and there's no like supporting system around it. It's inside the shelf, and it looks like it's floating. It's a nice little feature.
Wow.
Helps open up the room. Right now, I feel bad since we moved in this house. We haven't gotten like a nice like entertainment center thing, whatever. I'm talking way too much about this, but anyway, we have my grandparents from like the 1950s. We have a radio and a Zenith radio and record player combined as like our sound bar is on that, ironically enough. I think it's very similar to when you have a non-working TV on top of a working TV or vice versa. So that's
a classic,
yeah, exactly.
1990s setup.
The old TV's on the bottom, but the new TV is on top. Ignore the screen at the bottom. But that's what I'm doing in whatever free time I'm able to scrounge together. But I am complete.
I still can't get by floating shelf. I see stuff.
Here. That's what
I had to get.
I went off the reservation at that point. I had no idea what Tigger Farzy was talking about.
So anyway, Kool-Aid McKinstry, right? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Kool-Aid. Let's do the Kool-Aid thing. Be careful, but if you go Kool-Aid, it could break your floating shelf because he's going to come through that wall and it's all over. There goes.
Wait,
wow.
Floating shelf.
This is now we're officially off the rails. This is amazing.
All right, since we're talking cornerback, because this is I'm going to put you all in the bad mood. Because that's me. You can't do it with Marc, but I'm going to try. I'm going to give you the negativity. All right. So I got a Twitter person. So Jody and I were talking about cornerbacks. I said Cooper DeJean doesn't seem like an Eagles fit to me. More of a versatile, can play corner safety. Every year with these people. Oh, he can play outside and he can play safety in this defense. They need both. They're going to have a rookie in a big Fangio defense play outside and then move to the safety and toggle back and forth. What fantasy world do these people live in, Marc Farzetta? This is the kind of stuff people talk about in March.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley. We're going to weaponize him. We're going to put him in the slot. We're going to play him outside. We're going to take him. Never happens. Never happens. You could point to me a Vic Fangio player, a Jonathan Gannon player, a Sean Desai player, anybody who runs a scheme in the NFL that plays outside corner and safety and toggles back and forth. Give me one. Give me one.
So I can't because that is not a real
He doesn't
thing.
Exist.
Yeah, that's a unicorn. That's a unicorn eating a bowl of ice cream. Like that's not, you're not going to say it. For me, friend, those people are even more optimistic and Polly pom-poms than I can be on my most optimistic and Polly pom-pom day. So that's not a thing. I wish it was, but I will say this much. Those things are not happening, but I never expected the Eagles to pay a running back, and they did with Saquon Barkley. And I didn't expect them to at least take a flyer on a linebacker that has had some good years in the NFL like they have in Devin White. So if you're looking at oddities this year, I think those are the closest things you're going to get to anything as odd as the Eagles getting that versatile player. And they did get a versatile player in Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and C.D. Deuce. I like what they brought to the table there. but I just don't think that you're going to have that type of player with that type of regularity bouncing back and forth between the two positions.
All right, and I'll keep the negativity going, trying to topple Farzy if we can. I'm a fan of CBSSports.com. Always a big fan of Jeff Kerr, even though he said, you know, I actually got to work today, guys. I can't come on your show as a guest because my job that actually pays me needs me to do something at the owners meeting. So no Kerr today, but I still love him. A couple other guys at CBS I love too because A, they're very good, and B, they're willing to come on my CBS Sports radio show because whole CBS pie there. One of the guys who's been on my radio show and here with us on Birds 365 is Jared Dubin, very good NFL writer. He penned a column, I think, over the weekend. 21 value / bargain free agent signings around the league. 21 of them. None of which were Howie Roseman signings. He took an 0 for 21 of the best signings for value and or bargain free agent signings. What kind of grade you got on Howie so far this offseason? Because I am from our stream, from my calls on WIP, from my Twitter. Howie's a genius. Howie's the #1 general manager. Howie's the greatest. That's why Howie's front and center in the picture.
Front and center, baby. On the
for all other
last picture.
Howie so far this year in the offseason.
All right. So usually when this question gets asked, we're just talking about players. The players aspect of it, I give them a B+. To me, you look, you already had a pretty stout offense in terms of the weapons that you had here. I don't see Jalen Hurts having another down year in terms of the turnovers that he had this year. And you added Saquon Barkley to that mix. So I think he's done a pretty great job offensively entirely over the last couple of seasons, really wowing us with his Howie Roseman move.
I'm talking about, boom, season ended, Tampa Bay kicked their ass as the collapse completely ended.
Yeah.
From that day forward, great Howie Roseman, not the last couple of years.
Right. So on that note, this offseason, B+, all around B+. But what you have to keep in mind, which is what I think bumps them up to an A, is the coordinators. The two biggest question marks that you had going into last season was, what is Sean Desai going to do? Is Brian Johnson ready to call plays? And no, more or less to those answers, especially as the season came to an end. This year, if you include the coordinators, I am wowed by what Howie Roseman and, yes, Jeffrey Lurie has done in the offseason with the coordinator hires. Defensively speaking, you talk about bringing back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, which was definitely a need that the Eagles had, and I believe they have addressed that. Linebackers, I'll say this. You look at the could-be's. When I talk to our friend Bill Colarulo, he likes talking about, it's another season or off-season on defense of could-be's. He could be this, he could be that. With Devin White, I say he at least has been where he has been good. Can he be good again? Well, then you shift back to he could be, but the Eagles aren't going to, invest a lot into that position for the people that really want to be optimistic and hope that the Eagles see the light when it comes to the linebacker position. They're crossing their fingers for Edgerrin Cooper. They're really crossing their fingers for not the axe, but the hatchet in Trot Jr. It's just not a position that the Eagles look at. But Bryce Huff, for me, I saw it was put out already today with Robert Saleh addressing the media at the owners' meetings, talking about how Bryce Huff is a closer. And then people rip him for only going after they only go after the quarterback. He's only a pass rusher. Well, Mariano Rivera only pitched the 9th inning, and he was still pretty good. He's a guy that goes after guys that can close games for you. Hey, look, if you're mentioning Bryce Huff in Mariano Rivera, that's the most optimistic thing you could possibly say.
That is optimistic.
But
and I love that.
Let's be real.
And that's way too optimistic.
Okay. All right. That's true. Here's my thing with Bryce Huff. I have hope. Anyone who wants the Eagles to win games, you have hope for Bryce Huff. Okay, $51.1 million for a guy who's had one double-digit sack season and a guy that's had 4 straight double-digit sack seasons. Granted, 29 be 30 when the season really, they'll be 29 when the season starts and then 30 shortly thereafter in Hassan Reddick. But a guy who has the proven track record, a guy who can be aggressive in his own right and win those one-on-one battles in multiple down situations. I think a proven commodity. Bryce Huff has just gotten this huge promotion that we have no idea whether or not he is ready for that promotion. And the Eagles, certainly with the money, are saying, oh, this guy's absolutely ready. But can he be in every... listen to this. You look at a guy like Brandon Graham. Granted, different stages in their career, but played 41% of the snaps. And you have a guy like Bryce Huff who played, 39, 40% of the snaps? Now he's going to be kicked up to, 70? What are we going to be expecting here for Bryce Huff? Like, what's a realistic expectation? So I have a lot of questions about the Bryce Huff signing.
Mark, I mean, you gave Howie a B+. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to find a young player who has more and is ascending and become a better player than what he was. They already have a great closer, as you mentioned, Hassan Reddick. Are they going to have him though? And that's
Right.
the big problem. Can you pay 3 different edge rushers over 10 million? In the case of Hassan Reddick, it'll be 20 million, most likely. We're certainly near it. I don't know if you can do that. So that's sort of the science of roster building. You get a little bit younger, a little bit cheaper, and a longer shelf life. If you can pull it off, then you get a B+. Until then, I got you at a B-.
All right. Well, put it like this. The last one I'll mention is Matt Hennessy, because that to me, that is I
like that signing.
I think it's a great signing. And the reason is, where were your questions? But before Saquon Barkley, where were your question marks on offense? Like, you weren't sure about whether or not they were going to bring back DeAndre Swift, but if they did, you knew he was going to be at least good. I mean, we looked at how they shared the ball last year with two other 1,000-yard receivers, 1,000-yard running back. That's great. But Matt Hennessy, when you talk about the question marks, it was, all right, people are confident that Cam Jurgens can take over and play well for Jason Kelce. Is he going to be Jason Kelce immediately? No. But Tyler Steen at right guard, still question marks. So bringing in Matt Hennessy gives you so much more flexibility just by making that one very much under the radar signing. Because if Tyler Steen can't cut it, then you have a guy that can play right guard. If Cam Jurgens isn't really getting it at the center position, which I fully expect him to do, but then you could keep him at right guard. Hennessy could play center. You could also have Hennessy play left guard and possibly move in the longest of long shots, Landon Dickerson to center if you wanted to do that.
Yeah,
but again, that's far down the list. But I'm saying the one signing of Matt Hennessy gives you so much flexibility on the interior of that offensive line that it really does help answer that the biggest question mark on the offense, which was who was going to be your right guard, and if it was going to be Tyler Steen, was he ready to play that position?
Yeah, I hate to do this. I'm going to do it, even though
shocker. We got some Temple love from Marc Farzetta, by the way.
Not that. Hey, maybe a little bit to do with it, but anyway.
Here's a question for both you guys. Number one, have we gotten any details on the Hennessy signing, other than it's a 1-year make good deal?
1 year, 1.75 million.
1.75 million. So Farzetta's talking about him stepping in and starting for the Eagles potentially at right guard or right center. If he was that good a player, there's not a team out there that would go I'll go $2 million. If Howie only go 1.1, I'll go $2 million. If he's of that level, if he's that good, if he's that worthy a gamble with all the injury history that he has, wouldn't a team have gone to $2 million? Aren't there teams out there with bigger needs and issues? Even I know Jason Kelce walking away. How can that be a bigger hole? Well, they did a good job of being ready for it by having Jurgens to step in. I know it's not fair, and guys overachieve with contracts all the time, but do you read into it that they got him for basically the veteran minimum? Is this guy really good enough to start for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, here's what I know. Going into, let's say, after Barkley and all that stuff, I looked at the interior offensive line of the Eagles, and I said, okay, well, your question marks on offense, really your only question marks on offense, are at the center spot, and I'll put a small question mark there with Cam Jurgens, only because we haven't seen him do it at that position, right? And we haven't seen him read the defenses, help shift coverage and all that stuff, and be in communication with Jalen Hurts the way he's going to have to be in the upcoming season. So a small question mark. But Tyler Steen was a big question mark there. A tackle throughout his entire college career, coming here now to be a starting right guard. You at least needed some flexibility, some depth there. And if Howie has made any sort of a name for himself outside of trades, it has certainly been being able to know who to pay and how to pay him and what they could possibly bring to the table here. Hennessy's not a Hall of Famer. He's not going to be, I just said something negative about a Temple guy. But look, he's just a good depth piece that could end up being.
Famer,
no, if you're starting, you're not a depth piece, John. Farzi.
No, but I understand that.
You're
but if
talking about him potentially starting for the Eagles. That's not
absolutely.
A depth piece.
Well, it is if Tyler Steen sucks, which is possible.
Well, to me, with Hennessy, I like Hennessy. It's a roll of the dice. The questions are not, can he play? He's already proven he can play. The question is, can he stay healthy? He's had back-to-back knee injuries, hasn't played in a year and a half. That's the reason for his contract. he was one of the top 10 starting centers in the NFL with Atlanta. And then they moved him to left guard, and he was the starter there. And he was supposed to start last year, and he injured his knee again. So the questions on him, and they're legit, is he going to be healthy? But he can play. He's already proven he can play in the NFL. And that's why I like the signing. I think it's worthy of $2 million, a little bit less than $2 million. You roll the dice and say, can this guy stay healthy? If he can, we got a hell of an interior backup at the bare minimum who can play any interior position and be a nice fallback, as Marc said. If Tyler Steen can't play, if you don't draft an offensive lineman, I think it's a smart signing, but I'm also not going to tell you it's a guaranteed signing. He hasn't played in a year and a half. I mean, that's the reason.
Did you need optionality at the right guard position? You absolutely did. I think Hennessy provides that.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right, Marc, I want to jump over to the defensive side with you. This is a hypothetical. You know I love my hypothetical questions. There isn't a trade out there for Son Reddick. We get up to the draft. They continue to try. Either Howie isn't going to accept the pittance that some other team is going to give you. Then the draft's going to take place, and it's all over because people are going to draft edge players and go, wait a minute, we got to pay a Son Reddick, plus we got to give something up in the future draft. No, thanks. We'll go with our young guy. So then they don't have any other moves other than keep him or cut him. If you keep him and you don't offer him any more money, which I would say would be well advised not to do. If you're talking about the wellness of the organization, to give him an extension and or give him more guaranteed money and kick it down the road to make more space. You don't need space. They're done. If they're not signing Justin Simmons, there isn't a free agent out there that you say, ooh, we got to clear some space, and $21 million cap hit for a sign is just untenable. They're already there. The roster is what the roster is. You just got to sign your draft picks. How's it going to play in the locker room with a Son Reddick on a one-year deal? And he's got to come back. Now, you're only 12 months from free agent, not even 12 months aside. Free agency is in the offing, and he'll be motivated to play well on the field. But I don't think he's going to be a happy camper in the room. How's that going to play if they try and keep a Son Reddick? Because the only other option is to cut him. You don't save all that much. If you cut him, you don't save cap money. You're still looking at a $20 million rather than a $21 million cap hit. How's it going to play with a Son Reddick if the draft comes and goes and he's still here?
Well, I'll say that if it's a Son Reddick and you have, he's going to have trouble getting a word in edgewise now that you have Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back in there. So I don't know if it's going to have that much of an impact. But when it comes to just his overall mindset and mentality, yeah, then you want to go out there, you want to ball out, you want to make sure that you show every other team in the NFL that you still very much have it in you to be able to help them and get that new deal that you want with more guaranteed money. When it comes to the rest of the players in that locker room, I think every player understands that it's Landon Dickerson just said it, and it was a perfect way to say it. Every team is on a one-year deal because you never have the same team back-to-back years, and we all know the cliche there, but it's very true, and I think a lot of the players in the locker room would just be happy to have a Son Reddick when it's already been threatened that he might not be here. If he is here after the draft and is here for the upcoming season, then I think players are just happy to have him there in the locker room. As far as the team goes, this to me is a problem in the NFL with contracts that I am still shocked hasn't been fixed. And this isn't a Son Reddick problem, it's not an Eagles problem, it's an NFL problem, it's an NFLPA problem. The fact that the players constantly have this feeling of outperforming a contract or wanting a new deal, but they take the guaranteed money, and then when that's gone, they want to be able to re-up for even more money. And I get that. Anybody would want that. But the fact that it hasn't been adjusted, changed, solved in a different way is wild to me. I mean, I remember going back to, you go further than this, but Sheldon Brown was a player that I got to know. I did a weekly show with him when he was going through his contract dispute, if you even want to call it that. He ended up getting traded to the Browns. But it was the same type of thing, outperforming a contract. TO, outperform a contract. This is the thing in the collective bargaining agreement that I don't understand how they haven't found a better way to solve this problem. Spread out the money, guaranteed contract as opposed to money. When players say, when somebody says he signed the deal, that's the deal. It's not so much the deal that's signed as much as it is the guaranteed money that's agreed to. Don't take that money then if you want it to be spread out from the beginning. And that's something that, for whatever reason, they just can't find an answer to this reoccurring problem.
I have the answer, Marc Farzetta.
Oh,
it has nothing to do with the NFL or
legalize
the NFLPA.
HGH.
Well, we can do that as well, but have agents stop lying about contracts of players. All contracts are basically 2-year contracts now, with the exception of
quarterbacks
who get 3.
Thank you. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, so they're all 2-year contracts to begin with, but you got all these morons out there spinning. Oh, look, I got my guy 5 years, but no, you didn't. No, you didn't. But you lie, and everybody says that. And then when the guarantees money is up, yeah, they want to re-up because it's not really a 5-year contract. It was really a 2-year contract. Daniil Hunter is probably the best example of this. His agent, now he's a little bit older, 29, 30-ish. So he's on that cusp, just like Hassan Reddick. He got 2 years. What was it? 60 million, Jody? 59 million of it was guaranteed. 59 million.
60? Wow. I didn't think it was. I thought it was 59 overall.
I'm sorry. Was it 60 million? Was it 59 guaranteed, or was it 59 fully guaranteed?
It is fully guaranteed.
Okay.
If everybody just got together and said, you know what, we're not going to lie about these stupid things like you just said, fully guaranteed, partial guaranteed, injury guaranteed, because they want to recruit, agents want to recruit players. Look what I got so-and-so, instead of telling the truth. And then we see the contracts when they get filed with the NFLPA. Oh, it's not really that, it's this. That's how you fix it. Just tell the truth about the contracts and have them all be 2 years guaranteed, and then you re-up. The injury part of it in the NFL is so much greater than baseball and basketball. You can't sign a guy to 8 years fully guaranteed.
Right.
You can't.
Of course not. Yeah.
So there's got to be a middle ground, and that's shorter contracts that are fully guaranteed. But nobody's willing to do it.
John, that is an outstanding suggestion, and I think it has zero chance of happening. There is no way the agents are ever going to go, oh, okay, to make it more understandable, we'll just put the.
Well, I agree. I agree with that.
I'm telling you that bring HGH in, deer antler spray, all that fun stuff that is not allowed to have these players playing 20-game schedules.
All right, Marc Farzetta, really cut and dry, easy question for you. Will Greer play a snap for the Philadelphia Eagles this year?
No, Will Greer will not. Will Greer he'll be the non-betting translator for Kellen Moore. He'll be like, hey, this is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. Yeah.
Not a bad idea, by the way, to get somebody else to place your bets.
Unless you're Shohei Ohtani.
He's here.
Oh, I just got a text from Mike Gill. Here's what he says to Farzetta. You don't think that Will Greer's playing this year? The West Virginia guys stick together.
West Virginia. Yeah.
Good on him. I hope he has a nice camp. Oof. John had him as an NFL head coach at some point down the road.
I said he reminds me of Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell was a third-round pick. He was a third-round pick. You knew relatively early they couldn't play. And, Bill Belichick and people took interest, and Kevin O'Connell said, coaching's going to be your future. I think that's what Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier are doing with Will Greer. He keeps following them. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying, but, Jody took it that way. Yeah, well, I'm not predicting it. I think they're trying to.
There's certain things you just shouldn't put in the same sentence. Will Greer, future NFL head coach.
I think they're trying to help him
with a paragraph between before getting there.
I think
Mike Kafka's going to be a head coach.
I think they're trying to help him be an NFL coach. That's weird. That happens all the time with
head coach. There's a difference between being a coach. Who is the Eagles quarterback coach this past year, assistant quarterback coach. Why am I thinking his name is jumping from my head here? Who was
who you
the former Giant quarterback who they brought in?
Alex Tanney.
Alex Tanney, too. You never went head coach with him. And I think the Eagles were doing the same thing, trying to give him a chance.
You know what's going to happen.
Get him, and eventually he becomes head coach. Why didn't we think of Tanney as a potential head coach? But we think
I think he's on that track. I mean, he got a promotion, even though Eagles kind of scapegoated him.
Yeah,
You know what?
How'd that work out? He get a check from Jeff on the 15th and 30th these days, or is he unemployed?
No, he's the passing game coordinator with Shane Steichen. He got a promotion.
Steichen scoop him
Yeah,
up.
Steichen loves him. He's a passing game coordinator. That's a step away from being an OC. And if you're an OC, you're a step away from being a step
Right.
away.
And you never went. They're trying to groom him to
Nick
become
did.
a head coach someday. You
Nick-
didn't. That's why I questioned you.
Well, it
Got
was
this
early.
guy before he's still in uniform. He's going to be on the field this year. And you said they're trying to get him.
No, boy, you really mistook what I said. They're trying to help in his future coaching career. Ultimately, anybody who becomes a coach in the NFL, especially if you're a quarterback's coach or an offensive coordinator, your ultimate goal is to be a head coach. I compared him to Kevin O'Connell because they were both third-round picks. They're both going to be out of the league at 6-7 years. And he became the youngest head coach. I'm saying that's a possibility. Anybody. Marc brought up Mike Kapka. Same thing. Mike Kapka couldn't play either, but everybody knew, hey, this guy's probably got a future as a coach. Is he going to be a head coach? I think he will eventually. Is that 100%? Of course not. Josh McCown played for 100 million years. I still think he's going to be a head coach, but he played forever. And that hurt him. Because, if you remember, Mark, Josh McCown, the Eagles wanted to make him a coach right off the field when they had him. But they wanted him to start, quality control, that type of thing. And Josh is like, I probably got a few more years in him. Turned out he was right. He kept playing. And he kept getting that paycheck. And then there was talk. He got interviewed to be a head coach. Who interviewed him? Was it Houston? It was Houston.
Yeah.
Right off the field. And people are like, you can't do that. You can't do that. Well, why can't you do that?
Yeah.
Right. He was coaching high school.
Yeah. He coached Drake May, by the way. Josh McCown.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
anyway. I have a fan theory. And this might be the most speculatory thing ever said on your program.
Okay.
So the Eagles get bounced out in the first round of the playoffs again this year. Sirianni gets fired, but the offense looks great. Kellen Moore becomes the head coach. Will Gurr, offensive coordinator.
There
Boom!
you go.
That's why they brought him in.
Off the bat.
That's why they brought him in.
Now, Doug
yeah, I'd cover anything you wanted to wager on that.
He'll start at.
What do you need? 4, 5, 8 to 1. I give you whatever odds you need. That's not happening. It's 172 reasons why.
Now, maybe the third part doesn't happen, but Kellen Moore is the head coach. Is that the craziest thing in the world?
No.
Not crazy, but not a given either. It's not just if
course
Sirianni's fired, given.
In theory, it would be very hard. In theory, if Kellen Moore was in position to be a head coach after a great season, in theory, they had a great season. So why are you firing Nick Sirianni?
Because they did it in spite of him.
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
Okay.
Oh, I agree.
You got to add one more codicil to that if that's the case. And then he has to fire Fangio. Because if the Eagles are bad enough that Sirianni gets fired, but the offense is good enough that Kellen Moore is going to be the new head coach, then the defense must suck, which means you got to fire Vic Fangio. And you're paying him all that money. Good luck with that one. That's why 12 I'll give you 12 to 1 odds that doesn't happen.
You can't fire. Well, first of all, you can't fire the Greek god of defense.
You have to. You have to in the scenario that he's laying out here. It's the only way it happens. The only way you get Sirianni fired, Moore promoted to head coach. Somebody had to do something wrong. And one of the two sides of the ball. If Moore was good enough on offense, Fangio must have had a god-awful defense. Has to be.
John McMullen, did you just call him Greek?
Greek? No. Well, I said the other day. I said
I understand.
The Greek god of defense would not be able to do anything with that Eagles defense last year.
Is Sirianni talking this week? What's his deal? What's going on out there?
Tomorrow. Coaches,
tomorrow? All right,
tomorrow.
that's definitely happened. Good. I just need someone to ask him to clarify what he does. I need that question. Hey, one more chance. Just an opportunity here. What are you doing again?
Same things he's been doing. He's
Okay.
he's a
Tim
CEO
McManus
coach.
forced to ask the same question again. That would not be right for him. He shouldn't have to do that. And oh, by the way, I only want one question answered. How's Quez? That's all I'm asking. That's all I need to know is how's Quez. We know how Marc Farzetta is, Mr. Floating Table Council.
Wow, I'm so impressed by that.
Floating table.
I'm thinking about hiring you for
Shelf?
a floating shelf.
What do you need? What do you need? Coming right up.
If I knew what it was, I'd tell you exactly. I still.
I'm making one long one to go below. We have a 65-inch TV, long shelf below, 88.5 inches, and then 2 floating shelves to go above it. So 4 in total. So yeah.
Oh,
I got to use a table saw for the first time the other day, man. That's a trip. That's a trip.
Right.
Or you can just go
put up your hands. You still got your thumbs?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
or you can just go and buy a big bookshelf. That'll be me. Yeah, I don't need Bob Viola's help. Always a pleasure, Farzetta. Thank you very much. We'll get you up again before the draft. Thanks for jumping in today.
Yeah, Jody, I'm going to hit you up, talk some baseball later this week.
Done deal. Anytime.
Right.
You need me, you got me.
Thank
we
you,
had
fella.
Marc Farzetta here with us on Birds 365. Today, we're going to come back and put a bow on the show. Stick around.